Marie and I left on a photo safari in rural Indonesia that turned out to be one of the most unique and rewarding experiences that we have ever had overseas. We flew to Jakarta and then to Borneo, where our group boarded a motor launch for a 2-hour cruise up the Sungai River to Camp Liki to photograph the orangutan. We were welcomed by a cautious orangutan and by her baby that is looking for sweet milk. The orangutans are not in captivity, they live in the wild, but are used to human interaction. The orangutan has human-like hands, no tail, and is classified as an ape. The diet of the orangutan includes fruit, young leaves, bark, flowers, insects, and eggs. They are given sweet milk twice a day to supplement their diet. The milk is a special treat for them. The mothers and their babies are enjoying the milk. One can see the strong bond that exists between them. Here the baby kisses its mother. The male orangutan is a very impressive and powerful animal. He rules the group. The male grows to be 4.5 to 5 feet tall, weighs 200 pounds, has an arm span of 7.5 feet, and a lifespan of 30 to 40 years in captivity, longer in the wild. He is aware of our presence and his look is intimidating. However, he never showed any sign of aggression. We came across the orangutan resting, which gave us a close-up view of her hands and fingers. This curious mother walked toward us, knowing that we were not a threat to her baby, but she did frighten one member of our group. The mother led her baby away from the crowd. Eventually, the baby tired. She placed her baby on her back and walked away human-like. Is this what is mistaken for Bigfoot? We are being observed by a curious mother with her baby by her side. The baby appears to be not affected by her presence and begins to suck its thumb. The gibbon monkey is strong, lean, with long arms and built like an athlete. I was fortunate to capture it in flight. The following morning, we flew to the island of Sulawesi and boarded a bus to take us where the Torajan people live. We stopped on occasions to photograph the beautiful rice paddies. Rice is the staple crop of the country and plays an important part in the country's economy. Majority of the farmers harvest the rice by hand. The rice kernels are separated in the country's traditional manner and then spread out to dry. The rice stalks are also bundled and taken to market as is. Fruit bats, or flying fox as they are called, are plentiful in the area. This is a hotel's pet fruit bat. We eventually arrive at the region where the Torajans live. The Torajans build their homes with the roofs shaped in the form of a boat because they believe that their ancestors came by boat from the north. In this village, the homes on the left are where the families live. The structures on the right are where rice is stored. Although the Indonesians are the largest Muslim population in the world, 98% of Torajans are Christians because of the influence of the Dutch missionaries. We are fortunate to come upon a Torajan funeral procession, and being Americans, we're invited to join the service. The funeral is a happy affair because it is believed that the spirit of the deceased will pass on to heaven. All the friends and relatives of the deceased are expected to attend the service and to bring a gift. The gift is usually a pig or a buffalo. In the procession, the daughters and the widow of the deceased are carried on the funeral structure to the ceremonial area. The top of the casket is in the shape of a wooden boat.
kasorong keno kekan dasido. Ang kasorong isaw.
This is the casket of the deceased. The boat roof has been removed and the casket is carefully pushed up a ramp to its temporary resting place. Once there, the casket is placed in the north-south direction. North is where their ancestors came from, and heaven is in the south. Because of the scarcity of arable land, funeral graves are carved out of the sides of mountains. Here are the effigies of the deceased. Multiple bodies in one grave are common. The skeletons of the deceased are also buried in caves. Years later, family members will enter the caves to gather a skull and the skeleton to bury in their home area. It is not important that the remains collected are those of their family members. If an infant dies and has not yet grown his first tooth, it is believed that the spirit of the infant is still alive. To retain life for the infant, it is buried in a healthy tree. A tomb is carved within the tree. The coffin with the infant inside is placed into the tomb. It is covered with woven branches until the bark has grown over the tomb. It is believed that the spirit of the infant will remain alive forever. From Jayapura, we flew to Papua to visit the DANI people that live in the jungles in the Balian Valley of the Papua country. The DANI people were first seen by a white man in 1976 when a Dutch missionary parachuted into a land in the middle of the jungle. It is estimated that there are 250,000 DANIs in villages isolated from the world by jungles, swamps, and mountains. Many are still headhunters. The man on the right is a member of the DANI people. No one seemed to notice or care that he only wore a gourd. We drove on a dirt road for a period of time and then walked to the village of DANIs. We were greeted by the DANI leaders shortly before we reached their village. Our group gave a pig to the village chief Yali, and in return, the men staged a mock battle that was interesting to watch and to photograph.
No enemies nearby of you.
Mary and Albert, you should go back.
No enemies. from Mr. Village.
Following the mock battle, we are welcomed at their village where we observe their traditional tribal ways. Women cut off one joint of a finger for every family member that dies. The Dutch missionaries have not been able to stop this tradition. We were escorted to the far end of the village to meet their religious leader. He entered his grass hut and brought out a sacred 350-year-old mummy for us to see. The name of the mummy is Winutu Madero. We were told that Winutu Madero was one of the most greatest leaders. They showed the reverence and respect for him by safely protecting his body. The DANIs then demonstrated the process that they used to prepare a pig feast. Here 2 men held the pig while the chief killed the pig with a bow and arrow. While others were preparing the pig for the roasting process, one man demonstrated how they start a fire. Meanwhile, the pig is placed on a fire pit to remove its hair. Once the hair is removed, the pig is taken to be carved. The fire pit is filled with large rocks to be heated. A razor-sharp knife crafted out of a bamboo stem was used to carve the pig.
Well, usually they do one camera.
A deep pit was dug to serve as a roasting area. Very hot rocks taken from the fire are dropped into the pit.
They were bad from the beginning.
Yeah, it failed normally at the beginning. It works like this.
Once the process begins, the women take over the preparation. They begin by covering the hot rocks with leaves and branches. Here, root vegetables and herbs are added and covered.
It's just ready to go now. Thanks for getting good on today.
Hello.
The last step is to place the carved pig onto the branches. It is covered with additional branches and more hot rocks. The branches are soaked with water to create steam. The prepared pit is then completely secured and the roasting begins. Once the preparation was completed, we thanked the DANIs for their hospitality and left. Our group then took a short flight to Jayapura, New Guinea to photograph a crocodile farm. This farm, owned by a Chinese syndicate, has 1,000 crocodiles that are being raised as meat to be sold in markets and their hides for leather goods. These are the male breeders. From there, we flew to Bali, where we spent the last 5 days of our trip. This beautiful ground led us to the sacred Hindu temples. The Bali people are very religious and frequent the temples to pray. Here, Marie has joined a group of worshippers to demonstrate her respect for the Hindu religion. This is a portion of an expansive water garden of the Tirtha Ganga Palace. We then went on to photograph artisans at work.
Yeah. And then the red is come from skin of the tree. The blue is from indigo leaf.
Here, young girls are applying melted wax, known as a batik process, so that colored dyes can be applied to the fabric without coloring the waxed area. The girls are inhaling very dangerous fumes. We visited a dance studio where young girls were taught the country's traditional dances that they are expected to learn at an early age. As we continued to explore the area, we came across a Hindu funeral procession in which over 150 people walked to the cremation site. We were told that there was to be a multiple family cremation so that the families could share the expense of a costly cremation. This is the funeral pyre where the bodies of 3 deceased were placed and cremated. Once the ashes were cooled, relatives and friends climbed the platform to gather the ashes. It was not possible to distinguish between the ashes of the humans and the structure, so all of the ashes were collected. This assured them that all of the ashes of the deceased were gathered. Here, relatives and friends waited for the completion of the collection. A ceremony was then held at the cremation site to bless the deceased. The ashes are then taken home for 16 days of prayer. The followers then proceeded to the seashore to pray for the deceased and to be blessed. At the proper astronomical moment, the ashes were spread over the sea. The day before our flight home, we attended 2 traditional cultural programs. The first program was of 2 battles fought between good and evil. As our final cultural experience in Indonesia, we are fortunate to see the unusual fire dance.